Send him back.
Not to the extent that it has evolved.
Maybe we were too naive at that time, but we just didn't, you know, appear to us that that was going on.
Hold me close, hold me tight, make me thrill, delight. Let me know where I stand from the start. I want you, I need you, I love you with all my heart.
He, you know, is the one who kept the relationship going. He's the one who made the calls. He's the one who sent the records. He's the one who wanted me to come visit. He's the one who told me all about Graceland and what it looked like and how he wanted me to go to Graceland.
You look for other things other than just dating a different girl every night. You look, you know, you'd like to meet a little more companionship.
For some reason, I fit his ideal woman. You know, and I at the time did not realize that.
I get lonesome sometimes. I get lonesome right in the middle of a crowd because I've got a feeling that with her, I won't be lonesome no matter where I am.
I guess I just fit what he wanted.
Elvis just was so in love with her. He kept on saying, I love her, and I want her here. And he'll make it all plans to get her all situated in the Catholic school. And, well, I mean, it wasn't all in one conversation. I mean, he called a few times, didn't he? He kept on calling and calling.
I know there are stories about my parents pushing me. That is outright wrong. My parents were frightened to death with him and who he was and the bigness of Elvis Presley.
That was a big problem between, you know, he and I were just going back and forth on, you know, why does he want over there? Should we let her go? If we don't let her go, what's going to happen? She'll always accuse us of ruining her life.
And, well, of course, we had to consider your feelings, too.
I said, you're ruining my life, you know, and I made me think a little bit, and I said, please talk to Dad, and, you know, help me, because he was calling a lot, and, you know, it had already been 2 years.
It was hard. It was hard to make a decision when you know that you really don't know what's going on.
So there was these continuous calls, and I was very convincing to my parents and saying, I'll take good care of her, please let her come.
You sometimes think that this is it. You'll never find another one, you know.
But remember at that time, too, girls and boys were getting married at, say, 17, 18, 19, and 20, and God forbid that a girl should go as old as 25 and not be married.
So my parents let me come.
That was a loss. That was a loss. You were there, and then all of a sudden, that void was there, and not having you around, it took a long time for me to get used to the fact that you weren't going to come back. It took a toll.
I don't think I made a mistake. Who knows? I maybe wouldn't have been married and had the child I have. Any book, but just by... You know, what was difficult for me, or any girl in my position, before or after, was he had already established a lifestyle of what he wanted to live.
When Priscilla moved in, Elvis was really trying to be a good boyfriend, future husband, but it was a bachelor's world. And I don't think it changed that much when Priscilla came. It was a real rough thing for any girl to come into.
So a woman or a girl coming in, it was something that that you had to accept. You couldn't say, well, this is not how we're going to live. I was the one who was going to have to change because it wasn't going to change, with or without me. So it was really what you were able to cope with.
Somebody started. She was wearing my ring, and I was wearing her ring. We were wearing each other's rings. That's the way it goes.
I don't really feel that Colonel or he, or really anyone in his close group, wanted him to have a girlfriend, someone that he was steady with.
Now, you don't actually have a girl right now, is that true?
Not a special girl. I date a few different ones, but nobody in particular.
You know, it was still for him to be the single, you know, movie star, single rock and roll, king of rock and roll persona that was good for him.
But darling, please don't say goodbye, baby.
I read somewhere that you have a girlfriend that you've been dating 3 years. Is that true?
That's very untrue. I've never dated a girl 3 years. I've never dated one 3 months.
And now, don't be cruel. You know I can be found sitting home all alone. If you can't come around, at least please telephone. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true.
So I was the girl he left behind. Again, you know, to take care of Graceland and to be there for when he came back and to call every single day and check in on me. And so that was to be accepted too.
I don't want no other love, oh baby, it's still you are.
You know, as much as I know that he, you know, was a little rebel-rouser, you know, he was really good about calling. And he was good about telling me, you know, that it wouldn't always be that way, that, you know, I'd be able to come out. And yes, I was wanting to go out and be with him. I'd hear all the stories, you know, that they would be doing this on the set and they'd be, you know, meeting all these different people. And, you know, he would always tell me what they did. So I did feel a little left behind. But again, that was the way it had to be. But he always promised me that it wouldn't always be that way. So I was home with Grandma. And Patsy, his cousin, which made it worthwhile.
As a matter of fact, that was the beginning of a long relationship. We're still very close. Uncle Vernon gave Priscilla a $35 allowance when she first came here, because I guess the way of his thinking was, well, she's living here and being taken care of and having all of her needs met, so he gave her $35. But then he didn't think about when Elvis left to go away, Priscilla and I would like to go shopping or go out and, you know, do some things, and it kind of was a stretch for every month. Occasionally she'd borrow a little money from me because I was working at the time.
It was a growing experience for me, and getting out and feeling pretty free. And then when I would go back with Elvis, I would have to go back into that same mode of how he wanted me, you know, to be.
You got me doing what you want me, oh baby, what do you want me?
Do you have any preference in types of women or kinds of women? What kind of a one would you pick for yourself?
That's a pretty hard question.
Well, Elvis had very fixed ideas on how and what he wanted from a woman. I mean, he was very old-fashioned that way. He wanted a woman to be a woman. He wanted a woman to be very feminine. I was basically what he wanted, and that was to support him, which I did, but only, you know, come up with ideas and suggestions and have my opinions when they're asked. He did not like anyone making suggestions unless he asked for it.
He was very conservative about his relationships. Obviously, Priscilla was quite beautiful, very shy, very quiet, which really appealed to Elvis's personality. You know, he wanted his ladies to be stunning and quiet.
And again, being from the South, too, because in the South, you know, women stayed home and took care of the family and did what she was supposed to do. And there's a Southern gentleman who takes care of the woman, and that's it. And Elvis was very much that Southern gentleman. I mean, he believed in that. He believed in that very much. A woman had her place. It was beside her man, supporting him and doing things for him and agreeing with him.
Well, I said I got a woman way across town. She's good to me. Oh, yeah. Well, I said I got a woman way across town. She's good to me. Oh, yeah. She's my baby. Don't you understand? across town. She's good to me. Oh, yeah.
I would always prepare myself before he came home and greet him at the door, all dressed and coiffed.
We met, and you were in a white suit with a black beehive.
Well, that can't possibly be Priscilla. No, it can't be. What happened?
Yeah, and you looked at me and you said, "What in the world happened to you? This is not acceptable." And I went, "You know, this is me now. This is me now. I'm your daughter, but I'm my own person."
That was such a shock. Oh, God.
You know, it's great that happened, because look how much fun we get talking about it now.
We never walked around in our pajamas or dressed down. We, came down fully dressed in the mornings.
You know, Elvis would come down from time to time in his pajamas and watch a football game, but he didn't want Priscilla walking around the house in a robe and pajamas. And it's kind of understandable, because anytime you've got 3 or 4 guys living in your house, it's not private.
No, that was a given.
That's what you get for loving me.
And I'm not saying that it was horrible, because we did have a good relationship. It was just that it had to be his relationship. It had to be how he wanted the relationship to be. It was not going to be simple, that's for sure.
That's what you get for loving me.
It was a hard-working relationship. Thank God, I knew him from a young age and pretty much adapted to his lifestyle. I mean, he was a dichotomy. There was definitely 2 Elvises.
He's so contradicting, You can say, man, yeah, Elvis was this kind of guy, and I think, oh, God, I remember these other nights. So, and that was what was great about him. He had every temptation that we all have. He just, in general, chose to be a nice guy.
Well, Elvis's personality was very volatile. He could be anything, actually, at any time. He could be very moody. But one thing that literally stands out is his charm. He had a way of making you feel very special.
Elvis had a good rapport with everybody. I mean, the maids and, of course, all the guys that worked for him, and the wives and the kids and whatever, He just handled everybody pretty much the way that it should have been, He just knew how to handle people.
Elvis rarely said he was sorry. Very rarely. But he had ways of making things up to you. And his way of apologizing, was obviously giving gifts, but he would do little special things. Whether it be a look or a hug, or bring you, have you come closer to him and saying really nice things. And it's something that you would kind of live off of. You always wanted that approval from him.
He also gave of his time. If there was something troubling you, you didn't want to bother Elvis, because he had all these other things. He would come into your room at night and say, "You want to talk about it?" He was that kind of friend.
Elvis had a close-knit group of people most of the time with him.
A lot of people I went to school with, and a lot of my kinfolks that I haven't a long time.
It wasn't just, I was with Elvis only. You had to be accepted, and you had to accept the fact that, that was Elvis's entourage. Always has been. He, had his own built-in family.
Well, that's where the Memphis Mafia came from, didn't it?
The Memphis Mafia is, I'm proud to be a part of. It actually was an affectionate term given to us by the press. We wore mohair suits. We had great-looking girls. We packed guns. But that's how it started.
My husband, Gigi, and I started traveling with Elvis and Priscilla. Elvis really liked Gigi. He called him Muffin. That was his nickname. They had a great relationship. I remember they had their own little language, and it was so hilarious. Everybody just had fun with it, listening to them.
It was usually the same guys all the time when I was there. There wasn't a lot of newcomers. We pretty much, stayed within the group.
We lived in our own little vacuum. We had everything we wanted.
And it was truly a family. We went everywhere together. We traveled, we played together, we, ate together, we housed together.
The guys, to a large extent, were a lot of fun, too. They were always very kind to us. Don't know what they said after we left, but...
He and I grew up in the same neighborhood in Memphis, Tennessee. I was a grade school kid, and there were 5 older guys trying to get a 6th person to play touch football. This is how unpopular Elvis Presley was in 1954. But that was the start of Elvis and I becoming friends 50 years ago. To my surprise, Elvis, he didn't ask, he just said, Jerry, you'll be staying in the room downstairs. And I thought, gosh, but man, did I love living there. I never felt safe as a kid. First time in my life, I felt nothing in the world could happen to me.
Oh, baby, 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 come back, baby. I want to play house with you.
Our lifestyle was really